Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Michelle is my name. If it's your first time here, hi and welcome. It's been a while since I sat down to do a sit-down video. I feel like with everything that's been happening, it's been kind of difficult for me to find my footing, to kind of find my groove back into filming. So I've been hiding behind vlogs and pushing that out much more than anything else. And I do hope that you guys have been enjoying the vlogs. Yeah, as we, go through this whole situation all around the world. It's obvious that this situation has brought a lot of anxiety, especially with regards to just businesses and, employment and everything. And a lot of us who are employed have been going through just the situation where you're wondering and asking yourself if, you're still going to have a job after this, if you're going to be redundant, if you're going to be laid off. And I just want to get that out of the way and talk about it before we, get into the meat of the video, because I feel like there are all these questions that people sometimes ask me in my DM, and things like, oh, so what is happening? Do you still have your job? Are you guys getting laid off and stuff like that? So I prefer to talk about it openly, so it's not kind of like a secret or a taboo topic, so we can just get it out of the way. I actually don't have that much to say because it's kind of a developing situation. We really don't know what the future holds. A lot of us are just waiting to hear what, obviously the management decides and, which way they're going to go. So we're all just waiting, And I think one thing that is important for me to say in this video is you should not live in fear or in all this anxiety that will make you not move, will cripple you from continuing to live your life because of the fear that you might lose your job. I feel like when you have surrendered everything to Christ, and maybe that's one thing that maybe you're watching and you haven't done, or you don't know what is she talking about? Who is this Christ that she refers to? I just want to say that my faith, which is I'm a Christian who is born again and believes that Jesus Christ came into this world to save me, to save all of us. But I feel like he came for me. He sent his son, God sent his son to basically surrender him so that we can be saved and we can be forgiven, and so that we have this connection between our sin, and our sinful nature to the holy nature of God, and basically just his, how do I say it? Basically, Christ is a connection between us and God, and that sort of sanctifies me and allows me to be able to stand before God as someone who is forgiven. And having just laid that background of what my faith is, it has allowed me to live my life knowing that God has everything under control. Everything that I choose to do, I try to walk in his will. And so doing that allows me to not live in fear of what is going to happen in the future. I know that he's already gone before me, and whatever happens is all in his will. He has allowed it to happen because he has already seen my end from my beginning, or from my present time. So I feel like that has made me not worry about, oh, are we going to get laid off? Are we going to lose our jobs? Are our lives going to change? What will happen? Things will change. I mean, if you move from one place to another, things will definitely change. but it doesn't always mean that change is bad. And I think that's one thing that we need to always remember, is that we are so afraid of change that even when change is good for us, we don't see it because we're so used to the way that we do things. And not to, dwell on this too much, but I just feel like, and that this is my prayer for you guys today, is that you have the peace that surpasses all human understanding. What that means is that everything that you understand as a human being, however you see it, however you think makes sense and should work, may you have a peace that surpasses that. Rest in the knowledge that God has everything under control, regardless of your understanding and what you can see. Does that make sense? I pray that it does, and I pray that you resonate with the situation, whatever your situation may be. Maybe your situation is different from what we're going through right now, but it's still a change in your life. May God give you peace. Another thing that I wanted to talk about that has been going on all over the world is definitely, just the racism and the police brutality that people have been talking about, and the Black Lives Matter movement. And there was, I think a week ago, or maybe about a week ago, people were posting all these things on Instagram and, talking about maybe their experiences with police brutality and racism. And I was reposting a lot of the things that were talking about racism in the States, and just how basically just talking about how racism has really crippled the Black community in the States. And I saw a few people, I don't know if this was meant to be in kind of like in response to, the stuff that I was posting or that other people were posting, but I saw a few people talking about, I'm from Kenya, in case you don't know, and this is your first time here. Hi, I'm from Kenya. And so a few people were talking about how, why are you guys talking about stuff in the States when we have our own police brutality in Kenya? And it just made me feel like sometimes when you live out of the country, you're not privy to some of the information that happens back home. And granted, you should make it your business to know, but sometimes you don't, and people have an opinion about the things that you should talk about, by virtue of you're Kenyan, so you should mostly talk about what happens in your country and not what happens in other people's country. What you tend to forget is, even though I'm Kenyan, and this is one thing that I want to say here, is when you're in Africa, when you're in your country, whether it's Zimbabwe or Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, when you're in your country, you are referred to as Kenyan or Ugandan, Zambian, Tanzanian. You are from that country. But when you leave the continent, people just see you as Black. There's no, oh, she's Kenyan, or she's, Nigerian. They just see you as Black. So to me, racism is a real thing to me. It's not something that I talk about because I see it on TV or happening to other people. It's something that I live, and I just thought about the first time that when we moved here to Dubai, and we were really fresh, and there was a taxi driver who, I was trying to hail a cab, right? And this guy drove right in front, drove past me, and then reversed back and basically rolled down his window and said to me, "Nigerian? Are you Nigerian?" And then because I was very fresh, I just went, no, I'm from Kenya. And then he was like, "Okay, come in." Okay, I will take you because you're not Nigerian. to me, at that point, to me, it was like, why would he ask me where I'm from? You know what I mean? Like, I was so fresh from my country. I had experienced racism, obviously, because I've been a flight attendant for so many years, but I was not living it every single day, if that makes sense. It's different when you visit someplace for 3 months and you go back to your country, as opposed to someone who now has made a life in a country where now you start to see these things and you start to notice stuff that people say that is microaggressive, and you start to feel it. You walk into a store and the security guard in the store walks behind you, and the shop attendants who are supposed to help you walk away from you. No one wants to basically pay attention. No one regards your presence. No one even acknowledges that you have walked into the store. It's different when I talk about stuff like that, because this is something that affects me. It's crazy because you walk into the store and the people that are supposed to walk towards you and say, hey, how can I help you, walk away from you. Now, unless you show up with a full face done of makeup and a Louis Vuitton bag, no one is going to probably look at you twice. You know what I mean? There has to be something that backs you up as a Black person. I'm not just going to pay attention to you just because you're a human being. And so when I see people telling me that, or making suggestions that I should instead talk about the police brutality in my own country as opposed to racism that doesn't affect me, I just wonder, like, you wouldn't know because you live in a place where everyone, 95% of the people look like you. You know what I mean? You're not out here in the world where you're a single Black person out of maybe 1,000, because that happens at times. And so I just want to say that at times, just let people talk about what they resonate with in that moment. I'm not saying that we shouldn't talk about other things that happen, but if this is what is of concern to me in this moment, this is what I will talk about. And that's it. There's just nothing else to say about it. I was recently watching a video on YouTube, and it was actually hosted by a white YouTuber, and she was hosting all of these Black YouTubers, basically talking about how they feel that being on YouTube as a Black content creator is much more difficult than someone who is on YouTube and is white. And basically just talking about how their numbers are not the same. They don't get as many subscribers as the other people. And it's actually a real thing, and people just want to act like, oh no, you're just saying that because, it was a validation to my thoughts, basically. It was a validation to a lot of things that I've been thinking about and talking about, and how sometimes you get censored because of talking about racism or talking about some things. And it's just not in our heads only. You know what I mean? Like, it is something that we deal with. And when you're in these platforms on Instagram and stuff like that, you really tend to notice these things in a much bigger scale than someone who's not doing the same thing as you. Speaking of platforms and Instagram, I want to bring in an aspect of toxic friendships. As a content creator, what our field requires us to do is to create content. There is no way that you will basically excel in creating content if your content is not consumed. Okay, let me set this. I really want to set this in a way that everyone will understand. Say you work on an 8 to 5 job, as in that's your job, an 8 to 5. you don't need anyone else. Like, you don't need your friends to make your job work. You don't need your friends to you basically already have a job, right? So you don't need any form of exposure or any form of advertising, if I could say that, through your friends. When you become a content creator, that's when you realize that you need people. This profession needs people to either consume the content or to introduce you to the world and advertise you to people. And a lot of the times, those people are your friends. Because when you start to create content, the only people that know you are your friends. When you get to these spaces and these platforms is when you basically start to notice toxic friendships. I don't want to really talk much about this, but one time I did a video and I said, when I got on YouTube, one of the lessons that I learned is not to put expectations on people. At the same time, and I've shared this on my Instagram several times, and if you're not following me on Instagram, please do. I'm at Michelle, my name. Shameless plug. But like I said, I have been saying this on my Instagram, is that if you intentionally choose not to support someone, for instance, for whatever reasons that you have, valid or not, God will still raise up someone else. He will still raise up someone to support this person. It doesn't have to be you. You don't have to want to do it, but He will raise up someone to do it. So I just feel like when you get into this space, you go through a season where there's silence and you feel like you don't have your friends who you expected to push you. And sometimes they're even the people that led you to doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, people go, oh, you should do YouTube. You're so good at it. Or, oh, you should do this. You're very talented, and you start to do it, and then everyone scatters. You know what I mean? And the people that are cheering you on are strangers that you've never even met. That to me has been a testament. God has continuously showed me that He will raise people to hold my hand, to reach to my destiny. It doesn't have to be the people that you think in your mind. It doesn't have to be the people that you've decided should help you. Because I feel like at times we put so much expectations on people, and when they don't basically live up to them, we are upset and we're disappointed. But these people were not put there for that purpose in our lives. They were probably put so we can learn a lesson, or so we can learn to depend on God and focus on Him. Because if God, if these people are what lifts you up, then there will be no glory that goes to God.
Preach.
And I'm so grateful for every lesson that I keep learning every day with just the content creation and with just everything that I'm going through in my life. Everything is leading me to Christ and leading me to trust in Him and to depend on Him. And I love it. I love it. I love to wake up every morning and say, God, as I do this, go before me. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it, but I know that I have You. And that's all I need. I don't need friends. I don't need connections. And I don't mean that in like an arrogant way, like, I don't need friends. Not in that type of way. All I need is You. And that's where my focus needs to be. And everything else shall be added unto me. So, yeah. I'm grateful for those lessons, and I'm grateful for this stage that I've come to. And as I move on to the final thing that I wanted to talk about, which was fake positivity this another thing that I wanted to say that I feel is toxic is at times we just want to be positive so bad. And we must be, even though situations are so tough and you're going through something. But you do not allow yourself to go through it because you want to basically put up this facade that you're good and you're positive, and my page is a page of positivity and my channel is this, so I am this. You want to be a representation of something that you're not. And that is toxic to you. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to feel that at times you're stuck and you're sad and you're low and you're in despair. It's just not okay to remain in it. So I just want to tell you today that it's okay for you to not be positive at times, for you to feel what you're feeling, for you to be in despair. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to talk about in this video today. And just to encourage you that if you have been affected by some of these things, I pray that you find peace. I pray that you learn to trust in God and trust His process and trust His timing and trust that He has everything under control where it concerns you. I do hope that this video encourages you. Again, concerning the stuff that's going on back home, I may not talk about it because I don't know a lot of the details. And even when I find out about the details, I just feel like sometimes I'm not in a place of knowledge to talk about some of those things, and so that's why I choose not to. But I'm definitely praying about them. I'm definitely just going back to God and saying, God, you know the situation. Please give me something to say. And I will, if I have nothing to say, I will just never talk about any issue. I'll never bring it up. I'll never try to say something just to look like I'm saying something to trend or whatever. I will choose not to say anything, but rest assured that I am definitely praying about it and I'm definitely just surrendering it to the Lord. Yeah. And so that's all I had for today's video. What a nicer way to get back into the groove of things and filming. And I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I hope that you guys were blessed. And I'll see you guys on my next video. All right. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you enjoy my content and this is your first time seeing me, please consider subscribing. And I will see you guys on my next video. Goodbye and God bless you.